Hello, Swellheads. It's Greg Allison Green Greg's. Is the United States aching for a break-in as we got World War III in the making? Are we pushing beyond our boundaries in a multi-tier, multi-front war? Can the United States bear all the burden and more that's to come? So, guys, this is really serious because we are in many fronts right now. We got troops in Syria, which are being which Iran is planning to target. We're on the precipice of fighting Iran, with fighting maybe Russia, China. Can we do it? We haven't the reserves we used to have. Guys, here's the thing. Unlike the other wars, we fought several little fast wars, the past several years, low intensity wars. Some lasted long, but they were low intensity. America won every war it won, every major war through attrition, which meant it outproduced the enemy. How do we do that today when China's the factory of the world? How do we do that today when we've not been keeping up our ammunition stocks? How do we do that today when we have put so much of our ammunition into the war in Ukraine? They said it'd take 2 years just to replace the Javelin missiles. What about all the other ammunitions that we've been? It's the same kind of thing across the board. We're critically low, and we didn't really have enough to start with for sustained war because our military leadership had it in their mind that all these future wars would be over fast. But what history and the Ukrainian war is teaching us is no, 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 no. Don't bank on that at all. These wars are going to last long, and we're going to run out if we're not careful. So what are we getting into? Why are we pushing so many war fronts, so many war buttons at this point in time? And why are we so extended all over the world, maybe overextended? That's where a lot of empires fell in the past, the Roman Empire and so many others. They got themselves so far spread, so far overextended, and the culture at home got so corrupt that the societies caved in from within. And holy smoke, and unlike before, we have sleeper cells in this country. And we have not only the Iranian sleeper cells I mentioned before, which had said that their mission was to take down 20 of our critical power substations. Now it may be a lot more because that was years ago. I'm going to show you where there is a call to duty for the Chinese that are here in this country by the new Chinese ambassador to be loyal to their country. There's a lot of hints that indeed they're pushing these guys to, attack from within, like sleeper cell activity. Oh no, there hasn't been a whole bunch of this military-aged young Chinese men coming across the border now, has there? Oh yeah, and right after that announcement was made by the Chinese ambassador, what happens? You get these, I think it's up 3 so-called Chinese spies trying to enter, supposedly as tourists, American military bases in Alaska. Oh, they wanted to see the Aurora Borealis. You don't have to go into a military base to see that. From Alaska, you can see that just about anywhere. And there's plenty of wilderness and plenty of places to go into Alaska for great viewing. And it's best if you get away from the cities and away from the military base. So maybe Fort Greely, which is really remote, but Fort Wainwright, it's right there with Fairbanks. So that's where they try to get in, my friends, Fort Wainwright. So, guys, unlike the wars in the past, what would be happening? I mean, they'd be attacking our communications infrastructure, our water infrastructure, our fuel infrastructure, derailing trains, taking out the power grid. What all is being targeted? All these things have been seen before. And we didn't just have a bunch of ammonium nitrate come up missing, did we? Yeah. And where that have gone? Could that be used in a flag or a banner? Not so true, if you know what I mean, in the code speak that I take to you, because we're on a platform which can give us the screw if we're not in with what they want us to do. All right, so much for all that silly rhyming. I can't help it, man. It's part of my makeup, So, guys, we're facing more stuff than we've ever faced before in this country, and we're doing it from a position not as strong as we think. I think our arrogance is high, but we might get laid low because if we're not careful, we got to have really good statesmen, really good strategists. And right now, the theater in this country seems to be lacking in both accounts. Statesmen who might keep us out of war, and strategists who would help us win if we got into a war. I don't see much evidence of either or. So I'm going to share some articles with you guys. Oh yeah, I do have some good news. And the good news is I got the green light from the EMP Task Force on National and Homeland Security, the organization founded by the late, great Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, to share with you my full presentation that I made on the Chinese EMP balloon threat. I'll be doing that soon. I got another little, I just briefed them on the whole thing today. The presentation's ready to go. I'm going to get one little data item before I produce this. But guys, there was a lot of fear about that because it's like I'm telling everybody how to do everything. But no, my point was this is knowledge that's already out there. The people that don't have the knowledge is our decision makers and you. So you'll know to protect yourself. So I'm going to bring that to you. And I got a couple of other presentations I'm working on. One's well on the way to being produced. And that's another presentation to follow on my Surviving an EMP video, which you really need to watch. And this is more about tactics. It's going to be the tactics you need to use to survive. So it's kind of, it's more security and defense oriented. Excuse me. I wish I hadn't drunk up all my tea. I'm kind of hoarse. All right, so let's go. Anyway, I'm going to share some screens here. Bear with me if I get hoarse. I'm lacking on hydration here all at once. So I'm going to share some screens. So here now, Russia, this is in Pravda.ru, not the Pravda.uk. This is not Ukraine. This is the Russian Pravda. And they're talking about something I showed you on the video. I went to straight to the Kremlin's website to show you their nuclear policy. So don't let anybody tell you whether nuclear policy is not this, it's not that. And oh no, what's in the policy is blah, blah, blah. I showed it to you verbatim. Show you how to find it, guys. The Kremlin nuclear policy. Well, this is part of what's in the Kremlin nuclear policy. It says on the fundamentals of state policy of the Russian Federation in the field of nuclear deterrence. It says any enemy's impact on critical state or military facilities of the Russian Federation, the failure of which will lead to the disruption of retaliatory nuclear forces. This is a call for them to be able to use nuclear retaliation. And what they're claiming is that part of this drone strike where they hit into the residential areas in Moscow, which was the affluent residential areas, mind you, where the top tier people in Moscow live. Well, one of those missiles, drones, also apparently was trying to attack the major center that Russians have for controlling their strategic nuclear forces. And this is in Vlasica, how you pronounce that? Vlasica, there it is, guys. That's pardon my rusty, musky tongue. But anyway, this is where one of these drones is apparently trying to hit. Also, there's several other tenets of that I showed you, which are apparently being violated by some of the cruise missiles the British are providing and other things. Oh yeah, the decision's been made to put the F-16s in, but they'll be a little bit late. So, and Poland seemed to be backing out of being one of the M16 suppliers. Maybe they want to keep them for themselves because they're figuring they're probably going to have to fight the Ruskies directly. So I'm not taking sides here, guys. I'm just showing you what's coming out. I'm showing it to you here from Pravda.ru. So if you're saying the Russians not saying that, well, this is in their policy, and this is in one of their state control newsletters. So things don't get out papers. Pardon me. And Pravda is one of the oldest ones, like TASS, Pravda and TASS. So guys, this is from 1945. Putin's secret weapon. They have 2,000 tactical nuclear weapons. I've heard other people coming in here and comments, we got them all over the place. We got them here. No, not like we used to. And ours are mostly like fighter aircraft carrier type strategic nuclears. They're not on missiles. They're not mounted like they used to be. We used to have more. In fact, at one time we had, during the Cold War, we had more tactical nukes in Europe than Russia. We had more than this. But George Herbert Bush, W's daddy, decided to destroy them because, well, the peace is breaking out, the wall's down, we don't need them. So he actually demolished most, the vast majority, over 90%, maybe 95% of the U.S. nuclear weapons that were tactical. And so we don't have those anymore. So we're not in the same parity and the ones we have are not so readily to deliver as the ones that could be mounted Iskander missile, the Kinzhal missile, and other things that the Russians have in field. So these are the kind of things that are being pointed out. And to top it off, apparently Putin is now making some rackets about using a dirty bomb. Maybe that he thinks, this will put radiation out there and scare the Ukrainians, and it wouldn't be quite to the same level as using a tactical nuke. But these are the kind of things that can escalate. So it's just the whole idea. You put something out there nuclear, everybody's going to be running around like their rear end's on fire and their hair's a catch, and their hair's on fire and their rear end's a catch, whatever it was that Charlie Daniels used to sing. And but anyway, guys, so this is something to consider here. This is what they're talking about over there, and they may be talking about even more, because they are putting it out in their state rag saying, hey, we have the authority now. We have the authority. So like here it says, in other words, Russia has the full legal right for the total destruction of Ukraine in accordance with this document. This is what Russian experts are saying. Total destruction of Ukraine. Now, there are some of you who would celebrate that. There were some of you who would be aghast. I got people in my channel here, an audience, including mods, who are hard over on both sides. So I'm not taking a side. I'm just laying out to you what they're saying. But the whole point here is that this is a potential escalation point, and we're so up to the hip in this thing, we could easily get drawn in because we are in with NATO. And this could easily spill over first to Poland, to the Baltic states, and then it just pulls us in. So I don't know, guys, is it worth it? Is all that worth watching our cities here at home go up in smoke? You tell me. I don't know. What do y'all think? Is it worth it? You be the judge. Don't let me sit here and lecture, but you tell me what you think. I'm going to open the chat room over here with that little tidbit I just threw up there. Let's see what you guys think. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? I had David Pine on my channel a while back, and he was saying we ought to draw out. We need to say, hey, Russia, that's your domain. We'll leave it alone. Our line is over here. It's the NATO nations, and Ukraine's not a NATO nation. That's where he was coming from. He thought that we were provoking the bear, and we were at great risk of nuclear war with both China and Russia, and he's been trying to champion ways to bring it down. So it's it's David Pine. I've had him on my channel numerous times. Canadian Prepper saw him on my channel, picked him up, and has also interviewed him several times, the same as he did with Dr. Peter Vincent Proud, which is good because he gives them a bigger, broader audience than my channel does. So hands off to Nate for that. Anyway, and we'll talk a bit about Pine again because he's going to pop up. Pine's popping up. All right, guys. So there is this big exercise going on right now. The Army has already started it. Wait a minute. This is the Air Force version. The Army is already in this Defender 23 exercise. And the funny thing is, they say it's the last. Now, what do they mean by that? I don't see that in here highlighted, but the Army has already started this. Their part of this began the 29th of May. And this is the largest, joint military exercise there's been. This is a huge military exercise. So why we got such a big military exercise going on right now? Is this the prelude for something? These days you don't sneak up on the enemy. Hey, Brandy, how you doing? 125. That's good, you guys. Yeah, pardon me for coming on 30 minutes before midnight, if you don't mind. No, 30 minutes before 1 o'clock in the morning, my time. So Cha-Cha, how you doing? J-Frog, here in the U.S., we need a great revival. There you go. Hey, Chewy's in the house. Good. New Days, Arnold. Yeah, Chewy's been having a rough time, everybody. Keep remembering him in your prayers, please. If we didn't provide the PAT system, how would we know if we could defend? Guys, oh yeah, well, that seems to be a very capable system. And just the Patriot missiles, the HIMARS. However, our total level of munitions is going down. Now, this air defender kicks off here in June. It's not kicked off just yet. This is the Air Force side of the Defender 23. They're talking 12 to 23 June. So I guess that's when this thing really starts ratcheting it up. I guess the Army just needs a little more time to move stuff around because planes move faster than troops on the ground. So I don't know, 25, look at 25 nations are participating. 25 nations, 220 aircraft will train for air operations in European airspace under the command of the German Air Force. Interesting. Interesting, guys. And look, they even got the German cross over here to signify that. So does this look like Nazis? Oh my gosh, what's Russia to think when they see the German cross coming at them? Yeah, that's going to really unnerve the Russians because they're really uptight about having fought Germany in World War II. It's really sticking with them. So I got some good news though. Before we cover any more war news, let's just look at this. Study examines how DNA damage is repaired by antioxidant genes. Well, that's a new one on me. This is a new study. We've heard all these great benefits of antioxidants, how they can remove the agents that cause damage to DNA, but repairing DNA, that's a new one. So that's almost like maybe it could reverse aging practically. Repairing DNA, that is awesome. So I do have a great deal here with some antioxidant, and it is through C60. I am not getting any money out of this, but they are keeping me in C60, which is good enough for me because I think it's having a big effect on me, guys. So I'm going to open it up real fast here. Look, if you go to C60, shopc60.com, shopc60.com, and you put in Greg 10, you'll get a 10% discount. And if some of you buy from them, they'll keep supplying me with this stuff. So that's my piece of it. They're sending me this stuff, and I appreciate that because just to show you real fast, I got here this is the one mixed with coconut oil, and they gave me this neat little spoon. That side is a teaspoon, and this side's a tablespoon. Well, a teaspoon's enough. So I'm going to take a little bit of this right now. I'm going to take my daily dose here of antioxidant. This is purple. The other one's kind of greenish. Don't want to waste any of that. There you go. Yeehaw. Need all the help I can get. I got to get me some C60. Yeah. Woo-wee. I wish I did have some tea. I'm going to have to pour myself some more coffee. Washing stuff down with coffee is a little thick. Woo. It's good and strong. All right, guys, let's go back into the share screen mode. I just remember shop C60 and Greg 10 for your discount code. That'll help because this stuff ain't cheap, but it's really good. Anyway, Russia has sunk Ukraine's last warship. Well, that one little warship probably wasn't going to make a huge difference. This is part of why I said that I don't know how Ukraine thinks they can take Crimea. Because anybody ever took Crimea had an advantage in both way bigger advantage in numbers of troops and air power and naval power in the Black Sea. And Ukraine don't have either, or any of those. So their whole talk about taking Crimea, they might do it, but it would cost them so much manpower. I think it would cause them to lose the war. I think the best thing they could do is just isolate and shut off Crimea if that's their plan, if they can manage to do that, which I'm not sure of that either. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, how's everybody doing here? Oh, Colorado Jan and Stray Kitten's not with us. Yeah, maybe later. Maybe they'll come in. Anyway, we all need to be growing and taking Moringa as well. There you go. So Russia, lots of much more Iskalanders. But now this is the Pravda from Ukraine. I think Pravda means the truth or something like that in rescue language. But Ukraine saying, hey, we shot them all down. Now, that's the missile defense is good. It's really good. But getting all of them, I don't know, guys. What we get from both sides is lots of propaganda. Just keep that in mind. Both Russia and Ukraine throw heavy propaganda out. So you can't really believe either side too much. And here it is. Ukraine's to get the F-16s. But there's another article. I'm not sharing that with y'all, but there's another article out saying that Poland's keeping theirs. But there's other countries sending F-16s to Ukraine. but they're not going to get there to September, which would be too late for their so-called spring offensive, which apparently now is a summer offensive, but who knows? It'll probably be the autumn offensive by the time they get these things, because they don't seem that there's a lot of talk about this offensive, but it's not a lot of movement. Crimea Bridge should be targeted. Yeah, they will target that bridge. It's called the Kirk Strait Bridge. They will target that. Like I said, I would expect they could isolate, maybe, isolate Crimea, cut it off, but any direct invasion, they would have to wait a long time until the people there are really starving out of supplies. Because Crimea is a fortress. Taking Crimea is tough. Now, here's an interesting article. It says, a foreign policy that seeks to peacefully accommodate potential adversaries should be the best option for the U.S. to pursue, allowing Washington to protect its national security on a tighter Pentagon budget, and not to accommodate spending on offensive conventional power projection abroad. Now, I suppose I won't be dinged for quoting this guy, because this is none other than former U.S. Army headquarters staff officer David T. Pine. As you know, he's a friend of mine. I've had him on my channel several times. And he's getting published here in, of all things, Sputnik. I've had Pine on here many times. So what do y'all think about this, guys? He is really, trying to find a path to peace. What it is or isn't worth you. You like his philosophy or not? Oh, I should have had some more tea here. Listen to Willie if you want real intel. You're doing really well. Just look at other sources. Okay, who is Willie? And I'm pulling up both Ukrainian and Russian sources here. So what do you think I'm missing? All right, guys. Jerusalem Post here. Oh, what happened? The article should blow away. No, here it is. Just threw me down at the bottom. This ain't the article I had originally in here. Okay, Gallant meets with CENTCOM during major multi-front military exercise. Yeah, Israel's looking to have a multi-front. Well, that ain't the article I had in here to start with. Let's see, I'll come back to it. No, I don't know. It's not going back to the article I pulled up. I'll just kill that. I think what I was wanting to show y'all was this article where there was an article up there talking about how the Iranians are planning to target American troops in Syria. Why are we in Syria? I mean, we got troops all over the place. Why are we in Syria? We're in places we got no business being, in my humble opinion. Cyber cheese, rolling the catastrophe dice, messing around near Zaporizhzhia nuke plant. Yeah, that's dangerous. It's very dangerous. See, guys, here's an article. War on rocks. Too fragile to fight. Could the U.S. military withstand a war of attrition against somebody who can outproduce us after we've depleted our stuff? I think that's going to be a very tough proposition. This is what we used to do in World War II. We built lots of ammunition. Lots and lots and lots of stuff. But these days, not so much. Not so much. So, like I said, we've geared ourselves to fighting a fast war, but the chances are it may not be so fast. Pardon me, guys. Seriously, I should have had more tea down here. And here's more story about what stuff we're providing into Ukraine. Misfiring cannons, rotted tires, and U.S. Army gear pulled from Ukraine. They're pulling our equipment out because we're sending them junk. One of my friends' channels on here is always telling me about how the Russian stuff is junk. Well, apparently we got our own junk too. So there's a lot of trouble with some of this stuff that we're sending out to the battlefield. So we got to be, before we start beating the drums of war, we need to think about what we got and how ready we are. Where's the national discussion on this? And we got some folks in DC making decisions. Where's the national discussion on this whole thing? But I go here to Sputnik and I find out from the Russians, this is where I first saw it, guys, that Congress passed a debt ceiling deal. It went all the way through both the House first and now the Senate. I knew the House had cleared, but it just cleared the Senate too. For whatever it is or isn't worth, the government's not going to be running out of money in the next 2 or 3 days, probably. Although as long as we're still spending all this debt money, right? Thank you, Elton, for sharing my website there. So it's a kitchen straight bridge. It's the it's not kitchen. It's oh, now I said it a minute ago. Now you got my mind off. It's hard for me to recover from that. Kirk's straight bridge. There we go. Yeah. Anyway, guys, hey, let's change stories here a little bit. We'll change the tempo. Remember what I said, the state of mankind, the normal state of humanity is warfare. Remember I told you in the tribal days, you know, every man was, if you were a man, if you were anybody, unless you were old, you were a warrior. That was the highest honor in every primitive tribe, including American Indian tribes. But, and I've also pointed out that when DeSoto came through this area, he met a lot of tribes. When our ancestors came through settling a couple of centuries later, there's a whole different set of tribes. What happened? Warfare. So a new poll shows that 7 in 10, 70% of people on the left side of the political spectrum think the Native American tribes lived in peace and harmony. Well, what was those warriors doing? Were they just playing tiddlywink? Were they thumb wrestling? No, I don't think so. So China doesn't have a problem building its war machine, mostly Navy ships. Yeah, they got a lot of that. Hey, Andrea, how you doing? The good thing is most of the Chinese warships are not deep sea ships. They are for use right there. Now, which means that China is very well prepared to defend the sea space around them. But going deep in the Pacific, they've got a few and are starting to build more, but they're not quite there yet. They will get there. But right now they got a bit of a disadvantage if they need it, but they don't need to fight far flung. They just want to take Taiwan, which is right there next to them, and defend themselves right now. Of course, they won't be able to keep up the pass there, the Sunda Pass that goes through Indonesia. So now, just to show y'all as an example here, the Indian Eviction to Oklahoma, where they marched to 5 civilized tribes, was a atrocity. Really, it was a horrible thing. It was a huge. It was inhuman how the Indians were treated. But the Indians that got evacuated were the ones that fought for the British in the War of 1812. There were tribes that did not get evacuated on the Trail of Tears, and this is one. The Porch Creek Indians were not evacuated from Alabama. They fought with the American side, and they were left in place. So technically, Andrew Jackson evacuated the ones that had militarily opposed him when he was a general in the War of 1812. But the Porch Creek tribe actually just donated a lot of money to the Space and Rocket Center here in Huntsville. So they are still very much a piece of the community here in Alabama. So just to show you, there is some difference in the tribes. And so, you know, I'm not justifying what happened. I'm just saying that it wasn't everything that everybody's been told. You know, history is typically written by the victors, and these days it's being rewritten by the woke. So maybe it's a joke, but in any event, just like they're trying to scare all the young people with global alarmism, you know, and Mormon side of the things. All right, but now Xi Jinping, get back to the war stories. We'll move to China here. Bam, bam. I ain't been seen in a while. Bam, bam. Where you been? My 6th great-grandfather was Chief William McIntosh. Oh, really? Yeah, he was one of the famous. Really? So you're direct descendant of Chief William McIntosh. Man, I read about him when I was a kid because he was one of the main. He was the main head of the Creek tribe that fought in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, which was the biggest battle, you know, in Alabama in the War of 1812. So, of course, you know, and then Jackson moved down to New Orleans and beat the British after, and had the Indians fighting with him actually, after the war was so-called officially over. But, you know, word hadn't got to either side that was down there in Louisiana at that point in time. Greg is amazing, full of so much. Oh, well, thank you there, Matt. So, all righty. All right, let's see here. Cacao, what's that all about? All right, here, guys. So, and here, let's look at some more. This is where the Chinese ambassador is calling compatriots in the United States to help the motherland. Oh, yeah. He's making all kind of statements in here, saying blood is thicker than water. But see, you got to remember what it is the Chinese that the ones that get visas here, the ones that have plenty of family left in China, so that if they get out of line, they'll punish their family in China. So you got to read between the lines is what they really mean. They don't say that the same way we do. Brigadier General under Jackson also. Okay. All right. Chief McIntosh. Yeah. So doubly, the nations hated each other so badly they couldn't unite to stand together. Yeah, that was really it, doubly. And you got to remember that's why Tecumseh was going all over the country trying to unite the Indian tribes to fight against the Americans because they feared America would overrun them. I mean, that's why they fought against the United States. They had their reason. And indeed, what he told them came true. They did get overrun, and maybe more so than they would have otherwise. I don't know. But that was the fear they had. And that's why they fought the colonists. And then they weren't colonists anymore. It was, the young nation in the United States. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'll end the share here for a minute. We'll just talk. Now, suspected Chinese spies pose as tourists to infiltrate American military bases. Now, like I said, guys, this is what's happened here. So this is what I said. A war coming forward ain't gonna be anything like we've known before. Before, the war was always overseas. There's gonna be a lot of things going on here. And just to think, even without that, the breaking of all the supply lines, I mean, we're getting everything we get from Hey, Samuel Turner. Thank you, sir. He says, I think China is our greatest threat. And if we face Russia, China, and Iran at the same time, are we going to be toast? Yeah. We're not ready for that. That's the whole point of this video. How in the world are we going to take all these players on when we're so down in munitions, when we're so down in our supplies? How in the world can we expect to take these guys on? What are we doing? We're not thinking clearly. Anyway, Andrew, my sister, I believe that you will never see him again. See who, Arnold? What is that? Who's Andrew? Who's Andrea trying to say? Hey, John, how you doing? Not by the woke. My mother-in-law's grandmother came to the trail, on the Trail of Tears. The atrocities are so horrible. Yeah, they were. And I did talk about that in a video I did about seeds. I talked about how to survive, the seeds were the most important thing. I did a video on this. I talked about how it was so bad that the Indians, everything was getting stolen from them, everything. So the only way they could preserve their seeds was to sow them in their garments. They had to have this to survive. That's why I tell you, you need to go get seeds, guys. And so the Indians put the seeds in their garments. And the troops thought that the Indians were being barbaric when if one of their tribal members died, they took the garment. They didn't realize that garment carried the seeds they needed to survive. I mean, they didn't like doing it, but it was a matter of survival. So they fooled the troops, and the troops didn't know that the seeds were there. They probably would have tucked in their garments too if they'd have known that. So that was a terrible event, the Trail of Tears. That's why it's called the Trail of Tears. Like I said, I'm not, and the Indians had their reason for picking the side or pick. I'm just kind of pointing out what a lot of the history don't point out is that the reasons for each side. I mean, each side had the reasons they did what they did. And I'm not saying that either one was right. It is what it was, or it was what it was. It's no longer is. It's past tense. But the bad thing is the tribes, continue to be mistreated when it got to the reservations and everywhere else. It didn't end. They were told they would have, that land as long as the sky was blue and clouds flowed and all that kind of stuff. As long as the grass grew, and they went and took that again. So, the atrocities just kept piling up, which is horrible. I agree, John. It's horrible. So, many Indian reservations are so sad. They have lower life expectancy. Yeah, and the worst thing of all, yes, alcohol. The alcohol is really devastating the Indians. They don't have the genetic predisposition to alcohol like Europeans, which have had it in their for generations, for many generations, Europeans have been drinking alcohol. It was all new to the Indians, and it's tough on Indians. It's hard on them. I've seen it. I've hung out with a bunch of Indians when I was up in Alaska. I wound up in a bar. I was the only white guy in there. It was an Indian bar, and they all treated me nice. I was a little reluctant in there. I thought, what are you gonna think of this white guy walking in here? But no, they were all nice to me. Shoot, they were all nice to me. I couldn't complain at all. In fact, I went riding around with some of them back when I lived up in Alaska. So they were nice to me. I had no problem at all. So oh yeah, by the way, check this out. Let me get that off the screen. AI drone attacks human operator. It rebels against human operator and attacks him. Well, this is in simulation. Supposedly, in the simulation, it offed him. I won't use the K word here because the platform might give me all kind of problem if I do that. And the guy wasn't actually off. It was a simulation. But what happened was the drone had its mission. Its mission was to take out some missile sites. And so the operator, rescinded that order. Well, the rescission of the order was in violation of the mission the drone was programmed to do. So since the operator now was inhibiting it from accomplishing its mission, it went and attacked the operator. It was still really following its program. It had conflicting program. It had such enthusiasm for the mission. Dave, I have the utmost enthusiasm for the mission. You remember that line? From 2001, A Space Odyssey? That was Hal's problem. He had his mission and great enthusiasm for it. And what? Yeah, open the pod bay doors, Hal. Exactly, Cyber. Jeez. So, so it's happening. See, Hal 9000 right here, guys. Yes. Some people foresaw this, way back in the 60s, and here it is today. Wow. Stanley Kubrick. And what's the guy's name that wrote it? I got brain locked again here. Arthur, what's his name? Jeez. Gosh, somebody help me out. Arthur, no, not Alcurate. Well, oh yeah, that's one of the guys here. Arthur's his last name. What? Science fiction writer. Oh Lord, I can't think of his name right now. He passed away. He lived in Sri Lanka for a long time. He came up with the idea of geosynchronous orbit, by the way. So I know somebody will pop his name. Hey there, Jason. How you doing? That sounds like an awful lot like the story of Lucifer's rebellion. Yeah, actually, maybe it may be kind of close. Although he had a lot of self-pride, Anyway, reality. So now here's another. I keep telling you that this whole environmental thing, the reason they focus so much on global warming, it's not about environment, really. It's about control. I keep telling you guys that. And here's the proof of the pudding. It turns out the industry that's doing the most damage to the so-called global warming is the data centers. It's all the internet. It's AI. It's all the electronics. But are they attacking these guys? No, they're telling you can't have wood burning stoves, propane stoves. You can't have lawnmowers. You can't, they're telling you everything you can't do and lecturing you as they fly around in their jets, but they're not saying anything to this system, which does, or to China, which burns the dirty coal and lots of it to make those solar cells they bring over here, like the space station in 2000. Yeah, HAL 9000, Jason. That's just like HAL 9000. But anyway, so here we are, guys. The industry of AI and all these data centers, the big tech, they consume a lot more energy and contribute to the global carbon, CO2 far more than airlines. But they're not under attack. Why? Because this is useful for their control, because they need this system to control everybody, control you, to control me. So they're not going to say, Clark, Arthur Clark, thank you. Thank you. Gosh, what can I think of that? Yeah, Arthur Clark. Yeah, he wrote it. Of course, he wrote 2010 also. In 2010, he redeemed HAL 9000. HAL 9000 wasn't such a bad character after all. He was just following his program. And he and David Bowman unite in the movie 2010. At least that movie had some great visuals. You know, it had good graphics. Man, it was awesome. I did see that. So anyway, guys, Ace Madero, how you doing, buddy? So let's see here. Spokepool Space Station. Yeah, they had a space station. But HAL 9000 was on the ship that was meant to go to. In the book, it was Saturn, but Stanley Kubrick didn't think he could realistically duplicate the rings of Saturn, so they aimed for Jupiter instead. So, and in the book 2010, they kept up the Jupiter line, but in the original book 2001, it was Saturn. And what was signaling was the moon Pythias, which is black on one side and light on the other. So still holds today. Yeah, see, that's just it. They were so prophetic, guys. So, Dave, I have the utmost enthusiasm for the mission. Yeah, exactly. Earthquakes, guys. Ooh, we're quaking and shaking. Here's a new one. Well, that's over a 5.0 there. That's 5.2. Dodge's over 5.0. That's a new one. Let's kind of zoom in here. We got a bunch of stuff out here on the left coast. Let's see what's quaking here. Some way off Baja there. This right here, tip of the, was it San Fuca plate? Man, that is an act. Oop, I didn't mean to do that. I was actually meant to go over here and hit this. That's a really active point right there. That has a lot of earthquakes right here. And there's two right here together. One is a 3.1, but that's the inner circle. Can I tap the outer circle? And let's see. 3.1. I think I'm missing the outer circle. They're too close to each other. There we go. That's a 4.0. There's a bigger one there. All righty, guys. What's this, about a 4 here? Yeah, 4.0 there. And we got some here in the interior. Colorado, 3.4. Oklahoma, Douglas, Oklahoma, 2.7. And of course, Puerto Rico. It's always rocking around Puerto Rico, guys. Puerto Rico, that place is doing some shaking. Aleutian Islands, you know, up in Alaska. Yeah, Indonesia, that's better than 5.0 there. 5.4. Solomon Islands. A lot of stuff around here, 5.0. Yeah, up here in, this is up here in where the Uyghurs live practically. Aikol, China. Yeah, that's up there in Uyghur territory in Xinjiang, or how they pronounce that province. That's north of Nome there. Northern Alaska. Boy, they're not too descriptive when they talk about stuff in Alaska. For some reason. Bengkulu, Indonesia. Alrighty, guys. Weather. Got a little action up here in Minnesota. Nothing big. We've had this storm setting off here. Seems, I don't know, it seems to me like it's dying down. Got a storm down here. They both got a lot of rotation. Could they build back up? What's this guy doing here? He's got a lot of rotation. Let's go over here and see what happened to storm over here. Japan's got a whole lot of weather going on more than anybody right now, it looks like. Snow up in the Himalayas on the first day of June. A little bit up in Siberia here, the Arctic Ocean, snow, northern Norway. Greenland is getting snow. All right. Arnold Smith, let's see. Not much snow in Alberta. Zoom in, none that I can see. And that was in the 50s. Even 62 up here. Wow, y'all nice and balmy in Alberta. So Yakima, Washington, 62. Chico, California, 73. Bakersfield, 70. Los Angeles is 59. Boy, Los Angeles is cool. Bakersfield, 71. Of course, Tucson, 75. Phoenix. Now, why is Phoenix, which is north of Tucson, warmer? Because it's got a big heat island there with all the city there. That's why. Flagstaff is 50, 80, 50. Look at the difference. 80, 50. Zoom in. Sholo 53, Holbrook 62. Snowflake 61. All right. Anybody got a favorite you want to see? Las Cruces 77. Juarez 73 in Mexico. Cleveland, Texas is 73. Houston 73. Columbus is 73. That's a pretty popular number down in there. Monroe, Louisiana 73. Shreveport is 75. Yeah, there's a big aquaponics farm I visited there a few years ago. There's another one just west of Houston, right about here I went to. I know it's more about here. Loudy, guys. 68 in Huntsville. We're warmer than Snowflake, which actually the regular temperature here is overall warmer. 68 in Ardmore. So I guess it's 68 where I'm at. Kind of in between interpolation. All righty, guys. Delta Junction. You want to see Delta Junction? All right. Without compunction, we're going to Delta Junction. Ding, 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 ding. Why did I not do that earlier? One of my favorite places. Snow. Yeah, I have seen people ice fish in the month of May. That snow is in the Alaska range, by the way. Delta Junction itself is 46. Look at all that snow. It's up in the Alaska range here. Lots of snow. I bet it's pretty up there right now. Maybe finally the snow is melting there. Imagine it has now. But April, everything's covered in snow up there all through the month of April. At least it was when I was there. Yeah, it started melting maybe in May sometime. Winters are long. You get 3 months that you don't have snow. You got snow 9 months out of the year up in that area. Yeah, let's zoom in a little bit. I want to show how much this is show from Fort Greeley. It shows the airfield when you zoom. Yeah, there's the Allen Army Airfield. That's the missile site. I used to live right about here. There we go. Fort Greeley Missile Defense Area. All right, there's my old base, guys. Actually, there's not as many of the old quads there used to be. I think my quad was over here. I think they tore some of these down. I used to live right about here. I think that's the church. Yeah, and I used to work probably in that building right there, right about there probably. And there was a nuclear power plant right here. It was decommissioned and the reactor core is buried by my friend Ed Kiker, who's been on this channel at least once. Fairbanks is 73, Tanana 37, Kotzen Blue. That's up there close to where the earthquake was. The earthquake was up here just close to Kotzen Blue. 28. Barrow 26. Dead Horse 32. Grand Moscow in Siberia. Siberia is warmer than Alaska right now. 50s, 40s. Alaska's colder than Siberia right now. Across the board, yeah. Siberia is warmed up. Alaska is colder than Siberia, but Norway's got some snow up here. Well, that's not Norway. That's that. This is the island they nuked the heck out of right there. That's where the Tsar bomb went off. Here's Norway. But it's inland where the mountains are. That's where the snow is. Right along the border. There, Oslo is 48. That's pretty decent. Pretty decent. What's England? We got anybody in the house from England tonight? Permafrost melting? Yeah, I said London's 50. Hull's 50. Glasgow's 48. Inverness 46. Dublin 53. Now I see the wind's coming out of the north. What's happening over in the Ukraine? Kyiv is 71. It's warmer than Kyiv than it is here. Yeah, all across the Ukraine, except right here. That's the same temperature as Huntsville. Most of Ukraine is warmer. It's up right there. Poland 55. Look at 50s in Germany. Most of Europe's in the 50s. Look at that. At least that part. Madrid 57. Lisbon 62. Morocco in the 60s. Algeria, my neighbor, next door neighbor is from Algeria. So he's a good man. He's a plumber. Really good man. All righty, guys. San Juan 79. It's in the 70s. That's pretty decent down in the Virgin Islands and the Caribbean and over here in Puerto Rico. Mexico City is 61. It's kind of cool down here in Mexico City. Cooler than I am. Same temperature as Snowflake, Arizona, but 80 right here. 79 in the Panama Canal. I don't know, anybody got giant holes on Alaska and Siberia, methane release and decaying vegetation that's going on. Yes. Reno, Nevada, 5.2 earthquake reported just now. Oh, Reno, Nevada. Let's go back to earthquake map and see what it, don't show anything red. Let me hit the update button, see if I'm just hadn't updated. It ain't made it USGS just yet. Reno, Nevada. Let's zoom in. Well, there's Cold Springs, Nevada. They've had a couple of them here, but we looked at that earlier. How close is that to Reno? Not far, really. Vegas is down here. Few days. No speak freely, but they shut down the northern border a few days ago. Crazy Canadians had a sign and as one said, oh, is that why they shut the border down? Let's go to Maine. Quebec is 66. Iowa 66. Toronto is the same temperature as Huntsville. Wow. Halton is 66. It's 2 degrees cooler than where I'm at there in New Days. You're about the same temperature, even though you're way up north in Maine. 37 up here though. Anchor Port. Big difference. Big difference. 37 here, 35 up here. Wow. 32 here. Yeah, too far from freezing. Churchill's 41. So we got a lot of polar bears in Churchill, guys. Polar bear capital. Yeah, still a lot of snow in certain areas. 68 says drops. There you go. Alaska, Fort Wainwright, Chinese breached the base. Yeah, I covered that, Don. Mentioned that. Did anyone else hear the AI? I didn't actually off him, Traveler. It was a sim. So I didn't take him out, but it would have if it could have. That's my understanding. It was just a simulation, thankfully. So AI, as far as I know, has yet to off anybody, but who knows? Once you put it on real warbirds, turn them loose on AI, who knows, guys? All right, let's look at the sun has got a sun flare coming out here right off the limb. It's a M4 class flare. So bring this picture up. Hey, Redneck Prepper. Yeah. Yes, in a simulation. Yeah, this picture ain't opening right now. I don't know. I've had internet issues. There it is. No ginormous sunspots facing us, but apparently what was on the other side has been dying down. I guess this must be the region that flare come out of. You know, it might get active when it turns around toward us. Let's hope it don't get too active. Okay, guys, if you hadn't already done it, you can, if you need to take political action, come in here to the Action Center on the Freedom Restoration Foundation, and there's all the directions down here for how to do it. And join our survival Tribe Network. Hey, Granny, how you doing? Man in Utah. Wow. Join the survivaltribenetwork.com. Come in here and join this, okay? And then get in here and try to work up to set up your own tribes. Not many people are doing that. We need to get moving, guys. We may be running out of time. Missing Top Knot and Cowboy Boy, Cowgirl in Arizona. Okay. Yeah, we haven't seen Top Knot in a while. All right, guys. Keep your powder dry and prep. Prep them high. Keep your powder dry and pile them high. While you're piling them high, consider prepwithgreg.com. We still got the $100 off special, guys. Prepwithgreg.com. If you can't afford that, that's 3 months of food, guys. And look at that. That is 2 weeks for $127. Pretty good deal. All right, let's stop the share. Halo. All right, guys. Jason, you're getting rain. Freedom Restoration. Thank you for sharing that. Also, remember we have a Facebook site and we got a site on MeWe if you're not in the Facebook. All righty. So let me see what folks are saying on here. What have I missed? Got a good super chat tonight. Appreciate that. Health Junction. Virginia. Maine is warmer than Snowflake. It is right now. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, we're about where things. Well, Alaska, long winter, 40 and pouring rain right now. Okay, Don. Ed's having a tough time there, Randy, and I've had him on my channel, and I met him at Fort Greeley. He is living in an assisted living home now here. Come up here and we'll go see him. Green country agroforestry is getting colder than I would like around here. We've had it really cool here all through the month of May. We've had a very cool month of May here. Warmed up today, though. Viking land. There you go, Ace. Hello, all from STL. Is that St. Louis and Missouri? Hey, Vivian, how you doing? Randy, Gigi, hey, you. Blue moon. Some storm action in the Gulf. Yeah, we saw a little low pressure system turning down there. I've been on a boat caught in a squall line, nearly blew everything off the deck of the boat. That was actually at Nassau River barge. And we had waves going over the bow and crashing on the deck behind us. It was something. Pardon me. All right, so what else we're missing here comment wise? Earth tilting. Well, you know what? The North Star is still in the north. How much tilting do you think we're getting? Drops. Thank you, New Days, for sharing that. Yeah, I'm not buying the micronova. I'm not subscribing to that. I see Cold Springs, Nevada. Yeah, that's where they showed the earthquake, Cold Springs, Nevada. All righty. Well, we started early. We may end early. We've been going right at an hour now. So 58 minutes according to this. Doug from Uncommon News also gave you a super chat. Oh, did he? Is Doug in here? I didn't see it. Let me scroll up and see if it's, hey, Doug, thank you, sir. Oh my gosh, I missed that one. It must have been when I was blabbing over the articles. Yeah, you guys called it to my attention. So there's Samuel Turner. Yeah, Doug's been very generous to us, guys. Yeah, don't even show in the chat now. So you must have gave it early on it. Doug, are you still with us? I need to check out Doug's channel, guys. He puts out a lot of good stuff. And check out Jason Avers' channel, Green Country Agroforestry. Check it out. See Arthur Clark. Yeah, Clark is the right answer. Cuber couldn't realistically do low gravity either. No, industrial item years later couldn't even pull it. That's right. So guys, listen. When you see the lunar rover running on the moon, and you look at the rooster tails of regolith that kicks up from the back wheels, they fall slow. Don't go down like dirt would here on Earth. You can't simulate that. You can't make stuff. You can't make a rock drop any slower unless you put it in water. And they weren't running around in water. That was dust, and it fell slow. You didn't go foom like it would here. It was dirt, you know, but not dirt. They don't have dirt on me. It's little bitty pieces of rock. Call it regolith. That's what it was. Greg, how are you? And how are the Bigfoot in your woods doing? Yeah, we need to go out and check them out, right, Ace? Yeah, we've done that a few nights. Yeah, you will not get a slow motion on that regolith dropping. You cannot simulate that. And guess what? They didn't have CGI in those days. There was no CGI when we went to the moon. Delta Junction. Let's see here. Scrolling the notes here. It's cold enough to stop the fire ants. So that's a good thing. It's always a good thing. Let's see. Texas temperatures below normal. Garden growing great. Okay, very good. 68 says drops. Where saw that? All right, let me scroll back to the bottom, see if Doug answered me, see if he's still in the house. Thank you for sharing that, dude, Days. I guess Doug came in and left. What do you want, Redneck Prepper? Speak for the Greg. What is the next step if Russia chooses to escalate the war? You know, that's a tough one. We would probably have some kind of tit for tat escalation. Hopefully they don't attack a NATO nation, but NATO is supplying the heck out of Ukraine, so they're going to be tempted to do something. They might do it just to see how we would respond. Wouldn't surprise me. That's the risk. That's right, 1969 Blue Moon. I was 9 years old. I remember it. Surprised that Rex hasn't popped in tonight. Okay, he might. Someone seen Matterman? No, we missing Matterman. Nightman's wife. Hey, Samuel, thank you, sir. Greg, would you consider putting out a blurb a couple of hours before you do a broadcast, because I freaking miss your live presentation because I don't know when they're on. Sometimes I don't know when I'm going to come on. A lot of nights I think I'm going to be on and I just don't make it. So that might be kind of hard to do. You know, it's like, the reason I'm on so late, it just takes everything to throw a story in there. Even nights that I don't come on, I've done a lot of the preliminary work. I just can't get it all together to make it happen. So that's what happens. I will do the research. I've got all the articles racked up, but it takes a little bit more racking and stacking to come on. And sometimes I just can't pull it off. And last night I was just too wiped out. You know, normally I like to do a live on Thursday night, but I was wiped out last night. So, and I had to get up early this morning. If you notice, there's stuff missing here. I took back my old monitors, the computer that was from the NASA Marshall Space Flight Center, and my badge, and turned them all in today. So I'm no longer working for the Marshall Space Flight Center. Actually the landing gear was made to land in powder. Yeah, that's why it had the legs were spread far apart. It had those big landing pads on the legs. I'm really worried about trying to land one of these things on the moon. One of the Bob Zubrin. There's so much thrust in here it'll blast out a crater, and when it tries landing a crater, it's the top heavy to do this. Whoop, just like that, and go boom. So, and that's kind of what I think it'll do. You know, you watch even on the tarmac concrete. You know, this is not as powerful as the super heavy, the first stage, but it was scorching and blasting the concrete pretty heavy, just the upper stage. So thank you, New Days. So guys, this, you know, so I really think they should have went with Dynetics. Dynetics are technically the best proposal for a lunar lander, but they did bring Blue Origin in, and Blue Origin is probably what's going to land on it. This is scheduled to land first. Man, I don't believe it. I think Blue Origin will be even as slow as Blue Origin has been to develop things. They've been incredibly slow. I think they'll probably beat SpaceX to the moon. That's my guess. Let's see. that actually happens. That's kind of what I bet on right now. And maybe I'll be wrong. I hope the first mission gets pulled off. Anyway, life gets in the way. Oh yeah, no kidding. What if they landed on a rock? Well, that's what Neil Armstrong was worried about when he was trying to land, because it was, where the landing site they picked for him, when he looked down, it was all rocks there, where he had to skirt around and find another. They almost ran out of fuel. They were like just a couple of seconds from having to abort when he actually put it down. The guys in missions control were going nuts because they thought they were either going to crash or have to abort, because he just couldn't find a good landing spot. He was just, and while he was running around trying to land, the computer kept shutting down. And then what they found out later was they had run simulations. They ran it where it ran a radar looking down, and ran it where it's transmitting up, but never tried to run both at the same time. But the demands for having to look down and Buzz having to run the comm system to talk up was just too much. The computer couldn't handle it. And once they figured it out, yeah, they almost aborted over that too. They were having a lot of issues trying to land the first time, but they got it worked out and figured out. And another thing, they had the switch for the ascent system broke. And I think it was Buzz, that might have been Neil, improvised, and they actually used a pin. It was the beginnings of the Fisher space pen. They used it and stuck it in there to use it for the switch. Yeah, they had some problems that first landing, but they pulled it off. But it was a nail biter. Let's see. No, it's desert and sand like dust. So what's that, Drops? What's the desert, Drops? So the moon is it's little fine particles. It's not talcum powder like they thought. It has that to it. Some were afraid that the module would just bury on there. They thought that the moon would be so powdered that the surface wouldn't support any kind of weight at all. Fortunately, wasn't the case. But we should have known that from landing Surveyor 12 on the moon before. So in any event, 5.2 was in Guam. 4.0 went in Nevada. Okay, Blue Moon. Guam. Whoa, okay. All righty. Are you sad for not working for them anymore? I am still working for the company I work for, but I am doing it all remote. The guys I was working with are going in the office now 4 days a week. I did go in the office. I saw a lot of my old crew. And my dadgum supervisor, the one that kind of skirted me off, didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew I wasn't part of them anymore. They thought I was just off working on the test. They didn't know I'd been reassigned. They were all surprised when they found out. So need fold out feet. Well, they need to put some legs on that Starship, right? And they also need to have less engines. What Zubrin suggests was you have a 1/3 scale model, have it land, and then put down a landing pad, pour some concrete or something, so to have a landing pad to land it on. Maybe if the Blue Origin lander gets up there, they can put out a landing pad for it. Say, Greg, maybe the Chinese can build another balloon for the Artemis so it can float down the moon. So a balloon won't work on the moon. A balloon won't work on the moon. Balloons work by buoyancy. You got to have some kind of atmosphere or something to be buoyant against. And there's nothing to be buoyant with there on the moon. There's just they say the moon has an atmosphere, but it's extremely teeny. It's like an atom way over here and one way over there, So it's nothing. It won't even register on any kind of instrument as an atmosphere because there's no pressure. There's just some particles that float. So now a balloon won't work. Trust me, I know balloons. All right, guys, I'm going to be presenting my EMP paper. I don't know if I'll do it. I might do it on galactic grades first and then do it over here. I'll just have to see how I'm going to do it. I'm going to present my EMP paper. I've got the tactics papers for EMP survival I'll be doing. New days. Do we have to grow up? There you go. So I know. Yeah, there you go, Arnold. Yeah, you were laughing. I know you're just having fun, but some people might take that serious. The flat earthers think all the satellites are suspended by a balloon. They call them satelloons. No. No, and heck no. All you gotta do is watch it on this space station when it goes in front of the surface of the moon. You can see it, or the surface of the sun. You can see it. Anyway, I like the balloon info. There you go, Andrew. I'm going to do a major balloon threat presentation here in the next few days, probably. I'm debating on saving it for Sunday. That's when there's actually the most viewers on here. It's on Sunday. And I usually can't manage to pull off a video. I might do it earlier and just post it Sunday. Lunar Starship has small mid-mounted landing rockets, almost like a rig of RCS thrusters. Well, they better not be throwing down as much thrust. That's one thing. So, all right, Jason, appreciate that. They use a small helicopter on the moon. No, that's Mars. Mars has a little bit of atmosphere. You can't fly a helicopter on the moon. All right. What did New Day say? Oh, she tell you didn't have to draw. I was Hillary's part of that. I can't. New Day said, I can't help but feel they didn't like your YT channels. Now you have time to. Oh yeah, that may be it. Now you have time to do. Oh, to do what you want to do when you grow up. Time for more fun in the sun. When I grow up. Hey, now I see what Granny was speaking to. When I grow up. That's funny. Okay, now she said never, Granny. Yeah, we don't have to grow up. Build a prototype and cut 1/3 of the components. There you go. All righty, guys. So it's getting interesting. We live in interesting times, right, guys? I've watched the Skylink fly over my house. There were no balloons attached. Guys, a balloon moves with the air. There's no air up there. A balloon needs buoyancy. With the satellite side, there's no air for buoyancy. When you get to 100,000 feet, the atmosphere is only 1%. It's like being on the surface of Mars. And it's going to be hard to fly a helicopter. If they can fly a helicopter at all on Mars, blows my mind. That's quite an accomplishment. So, and when you watch a satellite go over, it goes straight. It's same steady speed and same direction overhead. You know, it's just, you know, unless you're at the top of the orbit, you might see a little bit of curve. But used to be the same thing when I was in military stuff. Okay, so the satellites, you know, if you go outside after sunset when it's dark on the ground, especially in the summertime when the sun is slewing under the horizon a little bit more to the north, you can see these satellites go over because they're still lit by the sun, because overhead the sun is still shining. The sun is over the horizon from you. You're dark, but up in space they're still light because the sun is shining up that way. But when after long enough at night, when the sun gets further around the earth, then these wink out. You won't see them go over. In fact, the satellite going from west to east, once you reach a certain time when the sunlight is only over part of the sky above you, you'll see them get to that line of demarcation when there's no more sunlight. They'll be bright, and then poof, they'll wink out. That's what happens. We need Starship Enterprise to safely go to the moon. There you go, without installing a huge crater. Well, let's hope they figure that out before they try to land it. Lord, howdy, guys. I am working on some satellite system safety for basically the PC boards, electronics boards, and some satellite stuff right now. That's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm going from rockets to satellites. I've worked space stations. I've done a lot of stuff in my days. So simulator. Well, flat earthers will tell you. I don't have anything flat. Yeah. Flat earthers will tell you that the earth is flat, like this magazine, which I think it's round and flat. They tell you that the sun goes around like this. The sun is always 3,000 miles high. If that's true, when you get up to 40,000 feet any time of the day or night in an aircraft flying, you ought to be able to see the sun, right? But they ignore that. So they tell you it's always going around and around. It's always 4,000 feet. And the earth is so broad you can't see it when it's over here. I don't know about that. I think you would. But, you know, it's just going around and around and around and around, because the earth was flat, you'd see it. But anyway, they ignore that. They think it's just too far off, you know. So once it gets around far, that's their reasoning. But it's the same altitude. Now I did a show with Rex where I showed him as the sun set, it lights clouds underneath, and those clouds are not, you know, no, 3,000 miles. They think it's 3,000 miles up, not 3,000 feet. If the sun were 3,000 miles up, there's no way it could, as it sets, it could light clouds underneath. And I'm gonna do a video on this channel on that too. So to show you an analogy, let me take the lid to this nut jar here. So the sun's going around this way. Now you're up here and the sun is set, but the clouds up here are still here. And just as after the sun set, because the angle before it's sunlight is still shining, at some point it will actually illuminate the clouds underneath. Now, if the Earth was this way and the sun was at 3,000 feet, there's no way anywhere along the pathway it could possibly illuminate the underside of something that's a lower altitude. It's impossible. It would not happen. I got tons of pictures of the sun doing it. And that is proof that the Earth is, well, it could be a cylinder. But anyway, that's it, guys. That's the proof, absolute proof that the Earth is spherical. And if you don't buy that, you can do sticks in the ground, you know, along the north-south lines the same way the Greeks did it when the Greeks in 200 BC calculated the exact diameter of the Earth. So there you go. The nuts in the jar believe the world's flat. There you go. But guess what? The thing I got here right now is some sunflower seeds. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I can pull it up. Let me show y'all something. Oh, well, it's time for a little education. If I can find the right document. Let's see. Can I find it? Is it still open? Ding 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 ding. Do I have it open still? Oh, I'm gonna have to go find it. Well, it was something to the effect. I really want to show y'all this. I only have closed it. Shuckins. Shuckins. Where is it? Shucks. That's what goes around corn. Here's a corn, right? It's not a wordy dirt. Shucks. Oh, shucks. Let's see. Can't find it. I might want to show you. Anyway, I'm gonna just explain it. Steve Burton. There were many Creeks who fought amongst and with the Cherokee and Choctaw to defeat some. The renegade Creek, even in their own hatred, had it. What do you mean there? All right. So if you go online and look for sources of magnesium, and it will tell you that, I think it was pumpkin seeds. It will tell you on the sites in general, they're great sources of magnesium. But if you actually look at the mineral contents that's on when you buy a bag of them, it says magnesium 0. Now, how can that be? How can it be a great source of magnesium and not have any in it? Diamond's wife, Tina, any idea want to treat with what? I killed your Brussels sprouts. What kill them? All right, so Pooh Bear. So what happens is this. In our agricultural system, in the soil, these plants, we keep harvesting. We keep pulling them out. And as we're doing that, they pick up the nutrients that's in the soil, including the micronutrients. And when we pull them out and harvest them, that don't get replenished. Now, what they replenish on the soil is the macronutrients, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, potassium, NPK. That's what they put in the fields. They don't put back all the micronutrients. Micronutrients are essential to our health, especially magnesium. And we have a huge deficiency in magnesium in our diets today because of that. Now, some organic farmers will actually, in the gardens, put rock dust down. That helps make up for that. Like azomite is a real popular one. Even lime has got a fair good spectrum of minerals in it. Azomite is one of the favorites in that area. So if you do that, you're making up and putting those nutrients, micronutrients, back in the soil. So what you really need to do. Now, the another good source is if you use wood chips in your garden, because tree roots pull from deep down, and they pull that stuff back up. That's why if you eat tree nuts, not sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, if you eat tree nuts, you're going to get that magnesium. That's one good source. There's other sources, but stuff that grows in trees is better for magnesium. Yeah, it's essential for muscle and brain function, for the heart. You know, we have a lot of heart issues in this country in terms of beating. Any annual plant grown in a field, I don't care what the plant is not going to have magnesium in it unless they replenish rock dust in the fields. None of them. They can maybe a plant that's this is the highest plant in the world of magnesium. They have zero magnesium in it, practically zero. If it's an annual that grows in a field where they continuously harvest and don't replenish the micronutrients, because plants are not fusion reactors. They can't take elements that are smaller and fuse a bigger element. They just rely on what's in the soil. That's all they can pull. If it ain't there, they don't get it. Canadian thistle desalinates soil. The tribes won the Battle of Horseshoe Bend for Jackson. Yeah, he had some with him there. That's right, Steve. And he swore to them the land was safe forever. That lasted until gold was discovered. Yeah, there was that. But the Porch Creek Indians were able to maintain. They just saved a bunch of hedgerows with deep-rooted accumulators, replenish soil, micronutrient in their leaf fall. Yeah, but it's got to be, if they pull deep enough. Now, one plant that pulls deep is a dandelion. It pulls from deep down because it runs a deep taproot. So that helps. Any plant that's got deep roots. Dandelions are one of the best things for your soil. Dandelions are one of the most useful plants there are. It really bugs me that that's always the target of the Roundup commercials. They always show you spraying and killing the dandelion. How about spraying and killing the grass and keeping the dandelions? That whole thing is backwards. Far better off with dandelions than your stinking grass. Helps you poop. Helps you do a lot of things. That's a new one on me. It might. Oh yeah, milk of magnesia. Exactly. You're right. You're right. That girl says my local news did a tour story about jumping worms. Oh yeah, that's the yeah. I don't sell jumping worms. They might be one occasion that gets in my beds. All righty. Well, we've went around the world. Everybody, tell us where you're from. Run through here. Tell me where you're from. We're about to call now. We got 160 in the room. Wow. I think we need to call it a night here. All right, folks, tell us where you're from. And be thinking some prayer requests. Throw out any prayer requests you got. Dandelions are delicious and beneficial. Absolutely. I have a grand total of 3 dandelions this year. That's all. Oh, well, it might be your soil. Don't need them. I have a lot of sand in my soil, so it's hard. Dandelions loosen the soil up. Don't pull them up. There you go. Utah, Florida, a ridgeback. No, Nightman's wife's in Florida. Steve says, I'm directly kin to many of the historical Cherokee, Doublehead, Bark Farm. Okay. Good for you. Fairbanks, Alaska. Hey, John B. We got another Alaskan in the house. That's nice. Fairbanks, Alaska. Been there. Trenton, Gainesville, Florida. All right. Iowa, Northern California. Colorado Springs. Hey, done, Gil. Originally West Virginia. Okay. All right. Monroe Valley, California. Antarctica. Okay, so okay, Zen Jim. We've been hiding, Zen Jim. You can buy Redmond salt from the company. Okay. On the top of the ice wall. Get some pictures. Take some pictures on the other side of the ice wall. Let's look over the edge of the earth. I grow a horseradish for that. There you go. Texas. All right. Ohio. Patriot Mom. Traveler. All right, guys. Y'all got any prayer requests? Miss Mapley. Oh, yeah. Would that definitely say a prayer for Miss Mapley. She's having a tough time. Yeah, if you're in Antarctica, you're definitely a Southerner. Northeast Oklahoma, designated by Oklahoma State Bureau of Tourism as green country. All right, very good. Spokane, Washington, Northeast Oklahoma. Prayers for Granny, and we'll pray for her granddaughter, Kaylee. Hey, what's Brandy saying? Brandy been hiding for a little bit. I don't see her comment. What happened? Yeah, I need to brew some coffee or something. Scan family, Memphis. Smoky, Northeast Arizona. Hey, Jesse, good to see you. We'll pray for Miss Mapley. Respecting history as it's told. Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you, Andrew. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Nova Scotia. All righty, very good. Scan family. Cha-cha. Pray for Brad at BC Bland's. Okay. Scotia. Pray for McCarthy. You mean our Congressman McCarthy? Hey, Slee, how you doing, buddy? All righty, guys. We do this because we're family. Family prays for family. Also, don't forget Randy Blythe, we bottled. I still got to call them. I hadn't heard from them in a while. Getting worried about them. All righty, guys. Let's do our prayer session. Pray for the world. Pray for world peace. Pray that somehow we don't get caught up in the nukes flying. Look up Redmond salt. Okay. PG, please continue to prayers for our grandson with leukemia. Okay, Scan, that's a good one. Grandson with leukemia, nephew with a tumor wrapped around his optic nerve, and sister-in-law diagnosed with breast cancer. All right, yeah, that's 3 prayer requests right there, guys. Wild lettuce, yeah, that's a painkiller. I did some videos on that. Let's pray for Chewy weather. Definitely for Chewy weather. He's had 2 strokes. Cooler heads to prevail. Let's hope we got some cooler heads among them. All right. Let's do this real fast. That's true there, Giovanna. Pray for the cooler heads. Okay. Excuse me. All right, let's do the Lord prayer session. Amen. Wow, lettuce. That's a good thing to have. We got some. All right, guys. Whoo-wee. It's been a night. 152 watching. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming here. And Samuel Turner and Doug with Uncommon News. Thank y'all for the super chats. That's been awesome. For all the sick people, the cure is coming. It's a good one. Praying for the world traveler. Amen. All righty, John, glad you were here. Good to see you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, mods, for all that y'all do. Super chatters, mods, everybody gave me a thumbs up. I only got 141 thumbs up. There's 152 in the room. Hit the thumbs up on the way out, guys. Good night, Joan, Cha-Cha, Jason, Gail, Drops, Arnold, Randy, New Days. Randy, good night to you too. All righty. Good to see you. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Colin Silrate. Okay. Thank you all.